Hello everybody, welcome back to our history mini lesson. I hope you guys have enjoyed these. They're just quick, short little sessions to get you a little bit of information, send you to a couple of videos to watch so that way you're better prepared on Thursday when we meet together on Thursday. So today is Tuesday's mini lesson. Why did states secede from the U.S.? We've talked about this kind of the last couple of weeks. Things have just been brewing and brewing and brewing in our country during the mid-1800s. And so the final straw was when Lincoln got elected in 1860. Remember, Lincoln was going to get rid of slavery. And so those southern states were like, oh no, basically our biggest enemy just got picked as president. And so that's why those southern states seceded from the U.S. Because they knew they were not going to get what they wanted. And so they chose to secede and leave and start their own country. All right, let's get started. Trying to get my slides to move. Come on, there we go. All right, so again, we're talking about some very famous heroes and people during this time. Very, very important men. All right, make sure you guys memorize our timeline for our session on Thursday. We do the Ultimate Timeline Challenge. And so you don't want to miss it. Make sure you have them memorized. Also on Thursday, we will be revealing our final column. So make sure you come for our 10 o'clock session on Thursday. You don't want to miss it. All right, so we left off on yesterday's recording with talking about the secession. We also talked about this new country that was formed, the Confederate States of America. And so this is their flag. They had two different flags. This one's the most recognizable one. And so you're going to be seeing it on random drawings, kind of similar to this. This is to show, it was the Confederacy versus the Union. And so today we are going to be discussing the Confederate side, that new country, the Confederate States of America. And these two guys, they're very, very important men to the Confederates. And so we're going to be focusing on them today. And then tomorrow will be these two guys. So let's get started with our first important person, Mr. Robert E. Lee. Now, where you live, if you live kind of maybe in a bigger area, there might be schools named Robert E. Lee, or there might be libraries or just different buildings, different public buildings named after this guy. I know I grew up in Amarillo. I grew up in Amarillo, but there was a school called Robert E. Lee. I don't think it's called Robert E. Lee anymore, but there was. I know in Midland, I believe their high school is named after Robert E. Lee. And so he was a very, very important person to these southern states. And so that's why you'll see lots of things named after him. And so he is best known for the commander. He was the military leader of the Confederate States Army. So he was the guy making huge decisions on, yes, we should go fight, or no, we should stand back, or, deciding where and when. This is the guy making those huge military strategic decisions. And so what I'm going to do is in the information section or the description down below, I will have a YouTube video that I want you guys to watch about him. But I also put just some random interesting facts about him that might, help you remember him a little bit more. So the E stands for Edward. And we're going to get to somebody here in just a second who their middle initial actually doesn't stand for anything. It's kind of silly. But his actually stands for something. His stands for Robert Edward Lee. Some of his ancestors were the very first ones to settle in Virginia. Two of his relatives actually signed the Declaration of Independence. So for him to kind of break free from the U.S. and go be on the Confederate side, I bet that caused some family drama, don't you know? Because his family was one of the first ones to start the U.S. And then he sat there and, rebelled against them and went to the Confederate side. So I bet that was pretty bold. Him and his wife lived on her estate called the Arlington House, and it's actually where one of the most famous cemeteries of all time is now, the Arlington National Cemetery. At the start of the war, his nickname was Granny Lee because they thought he commanded like an old woman. But then we find out later he's actually like a true military genius. This is really cool about his horse named Traveler. Very, very famous horse. And after the war, he was basically kicked out of being an American citizen because, you know, he dropped down to the Confederate side. So, yeah, he lost his U.S. citizenship. But President Ford restored his citizenship, and so he was able to become a U.S. citizen again. So go check out the video about Robert E. Lee, very brilliant man and military leader for the Confederate side. You're going to hear his name a lot. And then this guy right here. So we've got our military leader and we've got our president. He was the president of the Confederate States. So him and Robert E. Lee worked side by side on strategic moves. What should we do? So this guy is a super brave guy for branching out to be the very first president of this new country, Jefferson Davis. So he was from a huge family. He was the 10th kid in his family. He was the youngest. He graduated from West Point, which during this time was an extremely prestigious college. It still is today. He actually married a future president's daughter, even though the dad didn't want them to get married. They still did. But his wife died just a few months after their wedding. Pretty sad. He was Secretary of State. He was a senator of Mississippi. And he is buried in Richmond, Virginia. So again, video about him posted in the comments below. Go check it out. He's a brave man for branching out and going against the U.S. The bravery that these people had to start this new country was pretty interesting. All right, so you guys have 2 videos to go watch. Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis. They're quick. They're not very long, only like 2 to 4 minutes a piece. So make sure you go check those videos out. Come back for tomorrow's recording on these 2 guys. You recognize one, you may not recognize the other, but we will talk about them. Important leaders. Remember, on Thursday, after our session, is my office hours. So we've got a session from 10 to 10:45. Then I have office hours from 11 to 11:30. Get your lessons done. I'm going to start emailing you when I see that you're getting behind. So please make sure you are getting your lessons completed. All right, y'all, that is the end of our session today. Check out the recording tomorrow, and I'll see you for the live session on Thursday. Bye, everyone.